everybody. Lord Tremendous here. Got another book review for you. And this one is my first thriller, I believe. It is called The Clown Prince of Paris. It is by James Dudley. And it's an espionage historical thriller type. This is great. The author actually reached out and asked me if I'd check it out. I downloaded it on Kindle Unlimited, but it is also available to buy for 99 cents, and it is in paperback format for $12.99. It's about 207 pages and was published on March 1st, 2016. So it's been out for a little bit. Mr. Dudley, I believe, does have a couple more books out. I don't know if they're sequels or not. They're all Clown Prince. One's of Camelot, one's of Kowloon and stuff like that. So I don't think that they're sequels. This one certainly didn't set it up for a sequel. But you know what? For a thriller, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. However, it wasn't super great either. The main character, Tommy Malloy, is a comedian, and he's in France, and he's telling a whole bunch of jokes. It's like 1951, 1958, somewhere there, somewhere in the 1950s is when this takes place, and he's in France, obviously, Paris to be specific. And he's telling jokes and stuff like that, and then you get a little side story about a bunch of Russian, American, and British, basically spies, and they're doing the cloak and dagger spy game. Eventually, an American spy who just so happens to be from Philadelphia, just like the Clown Prince comedian guy. They're both from Philadelphia. They bond, and but they bond after the American spy has to cause a big fight in his comedy club in order to escape a bunch of Russian spies that are coming after him. And they get back to his room. The Russian spies find his room, no problem. They kill the American agent, which of course Tommy just happens to be out having a cigarette, and they for some reason didn't see him. There's a lot of convenience for the sake of convenience in this one, so it gets on your nerves pretty quick. Or it got on mine anyway. So he ends up escaping and stuff like that, and of course a series of events, and of course in the end, you know, he's an international man of mystery. He does have some military background. He was in World War II. He was airborne and all that. He fought, he's killed. So he has some basic military training. But the way the author writes this character, he is Jason Bourne with a sense of humor. I mean, it's just difficult. He's also probably the luckiest and most well-connected man in the universe. There's everybody that he runs into, every problem he runs into, there's a convenient solution. When he's trying to escape a hotel, even though the whole place knows that he's wanted for murder, he finds the one guy in the hotel who doesn't know he's wanted for murder or doesn't care, and literally puts his freedom on the line to make sure he's free because, hey, it's Tommy Malloy. You work a comedy club out here and have been in a couple of movies that I really doubt he's seen. So anyway, there's also another part where he's running away from Russian spies, and he goes to this church, and a 70-year-old nun that works there, I think she's the head nun, I can't remember what it's called. She just so happens, they're in France, okay? This guy's an American. And he goes to this random church and somewhere in France, pounding on the door to be let in. And the first nun doesn't understand what he's saying. The second one doesn't understand, but the third one is his old Catholic school nun teacher from like 20 plus years ago, who remembers him. Oh, Tommy, I remember you. And of course, he recognizes her right away because nobody ages in decades, especially back in the 50s when all sorts of age-reducing creams were all the rage. And not only does she let him into the house of God knowing that he is wanted for murder, when the cops show up at the church, she lies in the house of God for this guy because he was a student of hers that she didn't think would be successful at all, and didn't seem to really have any kind of real bond with him. But yeah, lies in the house of God to the police officers for a guy who she has no reason to believe didn't commit this murder, other than I swear it, I'll pinky swear it. It's really convenient and it's frustrating. There's at no time or point do you honestly believe that the main character's in any real danger, because after the third or fourth supreme divine intervention, God himself should have just come down and been like, I got you, buddy. Let's walk through France and make sure all of this stuff works out. Not only that, but the Russian spies are the most incompetent bad guys on the planet. Like, serious, Austin Powers could learn some things from the henchmen that he was able to easily defeat in that movie. These guys are easier. They have glass jaws. They have no ability to fight, even though the book does describe them as having the ability to fight. And they're no slouches and everything like that. This self-described scrawny American comedian can take them out no problem. Like, he doesn't get hurt, he doesn't get beat up, he takes a punch in the face like he's a friggin' heavyweight champion of the world in boxing, which he might be, because the way he unleashes a flurry of blows to knock these people out left, right, and center is astounding. All right, the guy is all sorts of Jason Bourne. So that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting to hear that he was like Captain America's younger sister or something, and just didn't remember. It was frustrating. Also, there is plenty of room for a proofreader and an editor in this book, especially as you get to about the 60% mark. You really start noticing. I mean, they're there before that, but you start noticing words that shouldn't be there, and then words, of course, that should be there to complete the sentence that aren't. For example, one of them that I remember is something along. It's like a turn of phrase or something like that. Anyway, it's a lot of stuff where you're expecting, all we have to do, end the corner, and it's like, did you mean to put all we have to do is go around the corner? But go around isn't there. It's jarring, and it happens a lot. It happens a moderate amount of times after about the 60% mark. This book could use a serious editor, a serious proofreader. It feels unfinished. And to be honest with you, since it was published back in 2016, these mistakes should have been found by now and fixed and changed and updated. And I really, really would have liked to see a lot more suspense. It's a thriller, and it is thrilling. I mean, I know I'm talking a lot of trash, but it is thrilling. I did actually get some enjoyment out of reading the book. It was a good story. The main character is actually very charismatic, and the author's funny. Some of his jokes actually got me to giggle. That usually doesn't happen. I got to be honest, when I'm reading a book, I read a joke, and it might be like one of those LOL moments where, you exhale real hard. This one actually got me to laugh a little bit. I chuckled a few times. So the author is funny. The main character is charismatic. It's just, he's invincible. He might as well be running around with a cape and his underwear on the outside, because he didn't run into anything that wasn't either, ex machina for him, or, divine intervention, or just, I decided to jump off a bridge and I landed on a boat that just so happened to be captained by a mobster in France who is friends with a friend of mine that recognizes me, and any friend of his is a friend of mine. And yeah, there's not one situation he gets out of by his own wit or anything like that. It's luck and convenience, and it's frustrating. So all in all, overall, it's a 3 out of 5. It's an average book. It's an average story, in my opinion, and it's way too convenient. It's way too easy for him to get out of these situations. And if Russian spies were as inept as the ones in this book, Russia would have fallen a long time ago, probably to Poland. I mean, just there's no way they could have operated a spy system with spies as inept as these guys. I mean, seriously, we could have sent John Candy and George Carlin over to Russia, and they'd have taken them out in a matter of days, because they were absolutely useless. Really frustrating. I'll get into more detail in the spoilers, because I really don't want to spoil the book. Because if you enjoy thrillers, you'll probably enjoy it. It's only a couple hundred pages, so it doesn't take long to read through. And there's some serious, well, not serious, but there's some moderate editorial and proofreading requirements that should be met with this one. But if you do give it a chance, I don't think you would be unentertained. And for $1, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. So all in all, 3 stars out of 5. I'm going to go ahead and play the ad, and then I'm going to get into the spoilers. All right, in case you guys didn't already know, I am a self-published author, which is why I'm so passionate about self-published books. It's available on Amazon.com and paperback, Kindle, and Kindle Unlimited. If you're interested, the link's in the description. I'd really appreciate it. Checked out, left a review. So get ready, spoilers are coming up next, so if you're still here and the music stops, it's your fault. All right, you're still here, so let's get into this. So, like I said, Tommy Molloy is a Philadelphia former World War II vet who turned into a comedian. He's been in a couple of small movies. I guess they wouldn't be big time because they were American movies. I don't think that France, but I wasn't alive in the 50s, so what the hell do I know? But it's gotten him some D-list celebrity. He's working at this comedy club in Paris where he has, a moderate amount of success, but it's a lot of slapstick and stuff like that. He's got this guy, Tony Vespa, who's his buddy, who kind of does the heckling thing, and everybody knows, and it's a joke, and it's fun. And, that's it. That's his shtick. That's what he's doing there. So, of course, there's this American spy who's got this information because there's some small little former Russian country that was divvied out to a bunch of other territories after the war was over, and they want their independence again. And America wants to use them to spy on Russia. Russia wants to use them to up their communist count of countries that they control. And, of course, the Brits are there trying to help out America because, hey, we were all on the same team back then. And it's just espionage for the sake of espionage, but it's there. It sets up the story, and all in all, it's not terrible. All the elements are there. It's the implementation that kind of makes you sick. So anyway, the American spy that seems to be running all this is, I don't know. He's basically outmaneuvered by the Russian spies, which is the only time you're going to see the Russian spies do anything intelligent. They get a hold of him. They get him cornered in this comedy club by telling him, meet us at the comedy club for this pickup. They, of course, go to the comedy club. They find him. They have an exchange of, oh, not today, Mr. Bond. Of course, the guy is able to use the comedy shtick, the fake heckling thing going on between Tommy and his buddy Tony. The American spy uses that to start a big fight, which, of course, just happens, like Indiana Jones style. He hits a couple of people, and then instead of people being like, whoa, 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 they just all start fighting each other because lemmings are lemmings. And, of course, he uses that as a distraction to get out of there. The comedian falls back to his little staging area, and he's trying to, stop the bleeding from his lips or whatever. And of course, there's the American spy. They start talking, figure out they're both from Philadelphia. They have their Martha moment, and next thing you know, they're both back at his hotel room to hide out because, hey, that's what Philly boys do. Of course, the Russians were able to follow him no problem because they had sonar apparently, and when Tommy's out having a cigarette, the Russians show up, kill the agent, the American agent, and for some reason don't go after Tommy. He's able to go back into the room. He finds his buddy dead. He finds a little note. And of course the cops come barging in because that's exactly what a Russian spy would do. He'd call the cops. So the cops show up. They see Tony there. Of course he's picked up the murder weapon because reasons. And instead of just telling the cops, whoa, 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 it wasn't me, what's going on? He immediately goes Jason Bourne, punches a cop out because he's positive the cops aren't going to investigate, and escapes through a balcony window, falling into a garbage can, a garbage dumpster, which he falls 2-3 stories into this garbage dumpster, is perfectly fine. And of course, the hotel worker that's there throws some trash on top of him. He goes, oof. The guy goes, hey, what's going on, Mr. Molloy? I know who you are. I heard that something bad happened in your room, but here's my access card, here's my uniform, and here's my friendship. What can I do for you? So that's how he gets away from the hotel, and then it's just a series of really fortunate events for him. He, of course, he runs into a couple of goons that the Russians send after him, and they find him ridiculously easy. And he's able to beat him up. They always come at him one on one, although there's two of them. They always find him one on one, and he's able to beat him up every time with very, very little difficulty, if any. They never really land a solid blow, and if they do, he, grazes it off because, hey, no problem. Russian guys, they're known for being soft punchers and having glass jaws. So at one point, he's escaped. He runs, he jumps off a bridge, lands on this tour boat, pretending to be a mime. They buy it, and since he entertained his crew, the captain shows up. Captain turns out to be a mob boss in France working for the American mobsters who know his friend Tony, who, of course, this guy immediately wrecks Tommy. And even though Tommy is wanted for murder and this captain has no reason to believe otherwise, he decides to help him out because, hey, any friend of Tony's is a vague friend of mine. So he helps him get away, gives him a change of clothes, drops him off way down the river so he can evade the police, evade the Russian mobster guys, and that's it. So he goes walking down this town, walking around this town. I don't even know where he's looking, but for no friggin' reason, he goes into a coffee shop, a random coffee shop. Keep in mind, he's gone downriver. He's been entertaining people. It's been hours. He goes into this coffee shop. He bumps into the only person that's in there, knocking his coffee over, and the guy drops all of his notes. The guy, of course, is pissed off. Tommy tries to apologize. The guy tells him to piss off. Doesn't pick up his notes. Just leaves in a huff. So Tommy cleans up his mess, picks up the notes, and instead of throwing them away like anyone else would have done, he decides to keep them in his pocket for no flippin' reason. Enter a horde of college students, right? So these college students come in, they order a bunch of coffee and whatever, and as they're ordering their coffee, who comes walking into the coffee shop? The two Russian thugs that are looking for him. They are amazing. They suck at everything else they do, but when it comes to tracking, these guys are better than bloodhounds. He, of course, Tommy's not like hidden or anything like that. He's not disguised. He's just got a different change of clothes on. Like he's Clark Kenting this stuff. He notices, that these two guys are in there. They haven't spotted him yet. And so one of the college kids stands up in this coffee shop, which is, this is where you're going to go and have a fucking meeting, right? They go, well, the lead college kid goes, I want to thank everyone for being here, and we have a special treat. One of the most reclusive, intelligent philosophers of our generation is here. Please, everybody give a standing ovation for Mr. So-and-so. Nobody goes up to the podium. And that's when Tommy realizes the old man that he bumped into that stormed off, that left his notes there conveniently, was the old recluse. And these college kids, luckily, have never met him, don't know who he is, and apparently back in the 50s used email to communicate with this guy. I know, snail mail, probably used letters, but garbage, okay? So he goes up there, and using this guy's notes, who he, in the book, admits he has no idea what he's talking about, literally improvs and does bear shit in the wood jokes. I'm not making that up. That is an actual thing he does in order to convince these philosophy students that he is the actual guy. And the author even puts in the book that he's not sure if the fact that the college kids are buying this is a testament to his improv abilities or the philosophy major in general. And I got to give it to him. That made me laugh. It's like, oh, well, damn. So if you're a philosophy major, I apologize. This book's probably not for you. So after that, he's up in front of everybody talking. The two Russian thugs knows what he looks like. But since it's a philosophy thing and they're Russian thugs, they immediately lose interest and leave. Convenience is convenient. So he ends up going to party with these college kids, realizing, well, I do need to get to the American embassy in order to plead my case and get help. But first, I'm going to go to this college because I'm willing to bet that they have bus routes and maps of the city. He's got money, okay? He literally has to hail a cab. That's all he has to do. But no, let's do this convoluted college drinking party that these college kids seem to think that he's this recluse that's a party animal. Apparently the word introvert wasn't invented back then. Recluse was, but it was a very loose meaning word. Philosophically thinking, I guess. So anyway, he goes, he drinks, he has a drink game with him, and the college kid leader loves him now. and goes, if there's anything we can do to help you out, let us know. And he goes, I need a map to go to the American embassy. And his cover story is pretty good. I need to apply for a visa because I want to go to America. And the college kid just so happens to need to go there now. So they drop everything that they're doing, and this kid takes him directly to the American embassy. And while he's there, of course, the embassy official recognizes him, even though the Russian guys couldn't. And he goes and he talks to the guy, the American embassy guy, gives him the information from the dead agent, and they go, we know you didn't kill him. That's great, blah, blah, blah. And then he gets a phone call, and it's the French government that says, we've been watching the embassy. We know you have Tommy, and we want him now so we can try him for murder. The American embassy goes, yeah, sure. We're pissed off about it, but yeah, Tommy, I got to give you over to him. And the embassy agent that's there is like, here's what's going to happen. You're going to punch me in the face and jump out this window and run away. That's the plan. That's it. Instead of, okay, great. Give me an American lawyer or get me a defense team to plead my case to show that this wasn't me. Show them why you believe I didn't do it. And this book is over. I'm done. My part of this is over. But oh no, we got to Jason Bourne this some more. So he punches this guy in the face, jumps out the window, and evades capture, which makes him look really innocent, I might add. Of course, fast forward, and after a lot more convenience, that's the scene where he's some other town, like he's made his way to another town in France, where he's running away from the police who have spotted him, right? The cops have spotted him and are running after him. He pounds on the door of a church and finds his old school teacher there from 20 plus years ago that, number one, he immediately recognizes, and two, this 70-year-old woman from the 50s immediately recognizes one of her students from 2 decades ago after God only knows how many hundreds of kids she's been through that she has forgotten, guaranteed. This particular one is wanted for murder by the government that she's currently, being ruled over. And she has no reason to doubt that the government's right. There's no reason. The media's not saying it could not be. The media's saying, dude's a murderer, turn him in. So she gives him room and board. The priest, the father that's in charge of this church, isn't there. So she gives him some of his clothes so that he can get a better disguise. And then when the cops come knocking on the door, she lies to them, lies to this investigator and says, no, he's not here and you can't come in. And the investigator's just kind of like, well, you heard the nuns, I guess, even though we kind of saw him come in here and it's the only place he could be. Sanctuary! And they leave. Yeah. So that continues to happen throughout the rest of his journey. Eventually, he's exonerated from all charges because apparently somebody throws a nickel somewhere in a wishing well and God just happened to be at the bottom of it and was like, wish granted. So, yeah, he's now exonerated. Everybody knows he didn't do it. He's at the American embassy, and that little country that you've forgotten about at this point that the Russians want to use to up their communist country count, and the Americans and Brits want to use to spy on Russia. The princess has been working with the Brits as a double agent, and she gets captured by Russians because, yes, we needed another plot line. So the princess is captured, and Tommy, who the American and British agent handler people have realized is the luckiest person on the planet, they enlist him to help rescue her. That's right, a comedian with World War II experience is now being recruited by this spy agency to help rescue a princess for a country that they need diplomatic relationships with. Are you following this? Are you following this? It's like the cops ran over and said, damn, we need more people to help us, police this town. So they run into the local GameStop and deputize the kid behind the counter because he was an Eagle Scout. There you go. That months and weeks of training and experience and shadowing an individual, like a mentor or something like that. Screw all that. Screw all that. You can learn all that from fighting in World War II and being a comedian in France. Now you're on point. And we're not only that, but you're going to get a high friggin' profile case right off the bat to rescue a princess. So yeah, that's where I started losing interest in the book. And that's also about the time that a lot of the the editing errors started happening, the words being omitted or being too many words. Like it looks like he tried to delete something and fix it during an editing process, but didn't delete everything and didn't bother to proofread it. So a little frustrating. And yeah, by the end of the book, he's literally fighting Russian spies at the pinnacle of the Eiffel Tower, where he's captured by who's supposed to be one of the most sophisticated Russian spies on the planet. For some reason, he's eaten cyanide, a lot of it, but he's just a little nauseous. He's not dying or anything like that. And he has enough of his faculties together to he's tied and bound to like an I-beam on the Eiffel Tower because it's really easy to drag unconscious people on the Eiffel Tower. You need to know that. And he's going to sniper rifle somebody from the Eiffel Tower, the prince of this country that he's trying to make go communist. I know, I didn't get it either, but that's what he's going to do. Anyway, the Russian spy did go through his pockets and take like his ID and his keys, but left like his medal, his rookie card that was a good luck thing, and a flashlight. Because, you know, why would he need a flashlight in the middle of the night on the Eiffel Tower to signal anybody? But even though he's handcuffed and all this stuff, he's able to move his one free hand. That's actually in the book. He's handcuffed, but he's able to move his one free hand, and he grabs a flashlight and is able to flash SOS towards the place where the dignitaries are all getting together. His spy buddy in America, the British spy buddy of his, sees it, recognizes it as an SOS thing, and although it could have been anything else, he knows immediately it's Tommy and goes flying towards the Eiffel Tower in a vehicle. And what does the Russian spy do? He starts instantly shooting at the car. Luckily, the French police are never involved again after his Tommy is exonerated from murder, and they kill the Russian agent. They free Tommy. He spends 20 minutes in a hospital to get some vitamin C to counteract the toxins that have had more than enough time to pervade his entire system. He loses a little more weight, so he's a little bit more gaunt. He gets the Russian spy that defected over because she just couldn't resist his charm, and he ends up back in Philadelphia with the love of his life and Tony Vespa, a successful comedian, lover of Russian spies, and whatever. Okay. So the reason I'm giving it a 3 is because despite all the convenience for the sake of convenience, it was still a good story. I enjoyed the story. All the ingredients were there. It's just the implementation was bad. The editing mistakes is another huge ding, but I still found myself enjoying the story. Which, yeah, I mean, I was toying with 2.5 to 3, but all in all, I see this as a very average book. It needs work, it needs help, it needs suspense, but the thrills were there. It was a very, very watered down Tom Clancy-esque book. You know, it's an author that was too in love with his main character to let him get hurt, in my opinion. I don't know this guy. He reached out, asked me to review the book, and that's what I'm doing, and I appreciate it. He seems like a nice guy. But he's too in love with his main character to let him even get hurt, you know, and that's the main problem. You know pretty quick in the book that this guy is invincible, and if he can't figure it out himself, which 9 times out of 10 he can't, something is going to spontaneously show up and make it easy, very easy for him to get out of this situation that he's in. So 3 out of 5 stars, and to be honest with you, I'm disappointed with the book, but I'm not mad. So I'm going to call it average. I'm going to call it 3 stars, and I'm going to stick to that. But yep, that's going to do it. That's it for this particular book review. If you guys want to check it out, you want to see if I'm telling the truth or if my review lines up with your opinion, then the description has all that stuff. It's got the link to my book. It's got the link to my editor. It's got the link to this particular book. And if you just want to reach out because you know of a book that fits my criteria you want me to review, it's got my email. So feel free to use it, contact me, or just throw a comment in the comment section. We can have a discussion about it. It'd be fun. But as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them down in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as quick as I can. And as always, thanks.